Good happy Thursday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to your Thursday evening edition of WRMK News 12 Evening Newscast. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday evening, so let's get started. The big story that we are going to bring you right now is Belichick parts ways with Patriots, sparking reaction among football fans. Let's take a listen to that video and that report from News Center Maine.
We, of course, will continue following that news conference that is ongoing with Robert Kraft, of course, right now, later this evening. We're also hearing now from a former NFL player who played against Coach Belichick, our Sam Rogers, joining us live in the studio with some new reaction across the football world today. So, Sam, some pretty big news out of Foxborough.
Yeah, I think Patriots Nation is still trying to deal with this reality after those 24 seasons of success and dozens of other accolades. The Belichick dynasty in New England is over. Of course, Patriots fans have mixed reactions. So too does Maine Sports Hall of Famer Mike DeVito. DeVito was a star at UMaine and played 9 seasons in the NFL, 6 with rival New York Jets. Earlier this morning, DeVito told me growing up as a Jets fan, playing there and then living in New England, Bill Belichick and the Patriots' success, quote, tortured him for years. The former defensive lineman says before playing against Belichick, he and his teammates knew they had to play a perfect game to win. Despite wanting to beat him twice a year, DeVito says Belichick advanced the game to new levels and instilled a unique, hard-working culture in New England, even in a league that DeVito says is designed to prevent teams from dominating the competition.
And yet, year in and year out, they did that for 2 decades straight. And it's just, you have to, as a player, respect that regardless of, like you said, the competition and how much I wanted to be Bill Belichick and the Patriots every time I got a chance to play them. You have to respect greatness. And that's, when it comes to professional sports, those 20 years in New England, that is greatness personified. I don't know if that ever gets repeated.
And, of course, rumors are already swirling about who will replace Bill Belichick as the head coach of the Patriots. Robert Kraft will now embark on his first head coach search since 2000. Brian, later on tonight, we'll hear from a former Patriots player. And, of course, we'll hear from some fans who we're sure will have some colorful reactions to the news. I guess the only thing missing, I should have worn the hoodie today.
Yes, that would have rounded out this whole report. All right, Sam Rogers with the new information on the breaking sports news today. Sam, thanks so much.
Okay, and there you go on that report. TSA in 2023 saw a record number of firearms intercepted at security checkpoints. Let's take a listen to that report from News Center Maine.
The TSA says its agents intercepted a record number of firearms at airport security checkpoints in 2023. So according to the agency, 6,737 guns were detected at the nation's airports. That tops the previous record of 6,542 in 2022. The agency said 93% of those weapons were loaded. When a firearm is detected at a security checkpoint, local law enforcement is then called. The passenger and the weapon are removed from the area. Depending on local laws, the passenger may be arrested or cited. The TSA can fine a passenger up to $15,000. TSA officials say that a firearm can be transported on airplanes if it is packed properly in a locked, hard-sided case placed in checked baggage, and it has to be declared to the airline at check-in.
Okay, and there you go on that report. More than 250 Maine businesses, organizations call for a ceasefire in Israel-Hamas war. Let's take a listen to that report from News Center Maine.
Some business owners in Maine are joining calls for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas. 260 businesses and organizations have signed a letter to Maine's congressional delegation calling for an immediate ceasefire. They are asking for a meeting with the Maine Coalition for Palestine to discuss other resolutions in both the House and the Senate. The letter recognizes Representative Shelley Pingree, who has voiced her support of a ceasefire in the past.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Whoops, sorry about that.
Police are continuing to investigate a string of...
Sorry about that. We do not want that report. Sorry about that. Maine's first PFAS lab expanding to meet growing demand. Let's take a listen to that report from News Center Maine.
The first lab in Maine licensed to test for toxic chemicals known as PFAS is expanding to meet a growing demand.
Maine laboratories opened in Norwich Walk less than a year ago, offering faster test results for property owners that are dealing with contamination in their drinking water. News Center Maine's Vivian Lee tells us about some new developments at the lab.
Katie Richards and her husband Chris, a PhD and chemistry professor, opened Maine laboratories last February. Located in a historic building on Main Street in Norwich Walk, it was the first state-accredited lab to test for PFAS chemicals in drinking water. The lab also tests soil, wastewater, effluent, animal and plant tissues, getting results into the hands of commercial and public customers in less than 10 days. Richard says the demand for PFAS testing is also on the rise.
We can do up to 5,000 samples a year. So we're not at capacity yet. We're definitely looking for more volume in testing.
The facility provides testing to detect 28 different compounds as low as 2 parts per trillion. It has hired another lab tech and added more solid phase extraction equipment known as SPE that prepares the samples to be analyzed.
Now we've got the ability to run 24 samples at the same time. So it really has tripled our capacity overnight.
Lab techs also utilize a Cairo grinder, which freezes and grinds samples to fine dust.
That's what allows us to be able to sample plant and animal tissue. So this has been a huge help. We've had several folks who are interested in testing their deer meat.
A good chunk of that demand comes from the Maine Department of Agriculture, Forestry, and Conservation. The lab is testing samples from dozens of farms dealing with potential contamination from the toxic chemicals. Results from compost and animal feed to produce, eggs, and milk are critical for farmers like Fred Stone.
There we go.
His century-old Arundel dairy farm was devastated by PFAS. For more than a year, Fred has been dumping the milk of 40 of his brown Swiss and Holstein cows, which have elevated levels of the chemicals. Every other month, the cow's blood and milk are tested, a process that is decreasing the PFAS levels in the herd and raising hope for him to sell milk again one day.
Still going through the process of cleaning these animals up, so probably by next June. It takes about 18 months.
Meanwhile, Maine Laboratories hope to add 2 more lab techs this year and is building more space for equipment and an area to make water test kits.
Pack the sample on ice so that when it comes to us, it's chilled.
Anyone could order the kits on the lab's website, which includes instructions how to gather water samples and return it to the lab for processing. In Skowhegan, Vivian Lee, News Center, Maine.
The public will get a chance to speak out about final rules on how to spend $60 million in relief funds for Maine farms devastated by PFAS contamination. The hearing is scheduled for next Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Augusta. We'll have more information on our website and our News Center Maine.
Okay, and there you go on that information. Lewiston Bowling Center working to reopen months after Maine's deadliest shooting. Let's take a listen to that report from WABI, Maine.
Center in Lewiston, where the gunman opened fire in October 2023 as part of Maine's deadliest shooting ever, is working on reopening. Just in Time Recreation posted on Facebook yesterday that changes are slowly happening and coming together. We look forward to seeing everyone soon. Pictures showed work and renovations being done inside the bowling center. Just in Time has not announced a planned reopening date.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Bangor assesses citywide storm damage. Let's take a listen to that report from WABI 5 News.
Rethink the way you live, and right now get 15% off everything.
The journey to becoming a University of Phoenix student is easier than you might think. There's no application.
While the coast has been the hardest hit by today's storm, Bangor is addressing storm-related damage across the city.
Grace Bradley reports.
Public Works, police, and service crews were out in Bangor to assess and respond to damage from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning.
So we brought everybody in at 11 o'clock last night. We have about 40 people on right now, and they really focusing on snow to start with, trying to push the snow back, make sure that when the rain started, we had the drains open. Unfortunately, we did not have them all open. We saw a lot of flooding this morning. We're still seeing wind surging, water up the Penobscot, which is pushing the canal high. We've been fortunate. There weren't a lot of trees. We had one big tree go down at Kenduskig near Harlow Street and brought down about 4 poles along with it.
It wasn't really like a crack or anything as you might expect from a tree. It was more of a rushing of wind. Pretty surprising for a tree this large. It came down and my poor daughter's vehicle took a hit. So we're processing through that. My tree has gotten into the line, so I immediately called Versant.
Wednesday's storm lies between December's major rain and windstorm and upcoming similar conditions on Saturday. Hootery says Bangor is prepped.
So we'll probably have crews in late Friday night or early Saturday morning trying to move that snow off the streets. In the last storm, we saw a lot of weakened trees, and I expected a lot of those to come down. It did not happen, and we're very happy about that.
He says the best way for the public to help crews is to respect parking bans.
One thing I noticed driving around early this morning, a lot of vehicles still parked in the street. It caused us a lot of extra work moving around those vehicles. Fortunately, the snow has melted, so they didn't leave big piles, but we do have a parking ban every night outside the downtown district from midnight to 6 a.m. Vehicles are not supposed to be parked on the street, and if they can get out off the streets, especially for that snowstorm on Saturday, it would be a huge help to us.
Grace Bradley, WABI, TV5 News, Bangor.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Good information there. Chris Christie ends campaign ahead of Wednesday's GOP debate. Let's take a listen to that report from ABC News.
Top stories breaking at 8. Race for the White House on top. Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley went head-to-head in Iowa last night. In the final debate before the first votes of the campaign, it came hours after Chris Christie announced he's dropping out of the race. Let's go back to Rachel Scott in Des Moines. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning. That major campaign shakeup came before the candidates even took the stage, raising the stakes for Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The two of them going head-to-head in this final debate before the Iowa caucuses, now just 4 days away, still trying to prove that they are the best alternative to former President Donald Trump. And they did go after Trump, but carefully. Haley calling January 6th a terrible day, railing against his argument in court that presidents have total immunity. DeSantis saying that if Trump's the nominee, then this election will be all about his legal issues. But they spent far more time going after one another on issues like the economy, inflation, Social Security, and abortion. Of course, the stakes only growing higher as the field narrows. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie getting out of the race, urging the party to come together behind a candidate that could defeat Donald Trump. But before he made that announcement, he was caught on a hot mic saying that Nikki Haley was going to get blown out in this Republican primary, saying that DeSantis called him petrified. Sources do confirm that DeSantis and Christie did speak. For now, we are told that Christie does not plan to endorse a candidate in this race, but polls have shown that his supporters could turn toward Haley. Robin?
We will see what happens there, Rachel. Thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that report. And we are going to switch gears now, and let's go into weather. A couple of quiet days before the next storm. Let's take a look at that weather from WMTW News 8 Maine.
Happy Thursday, everyone. We got ourselves finally a calm day out there today. Temperatures are mild, above average in the upper 30s and low 40s today. It'll be around 40 degrees of sunshine for tomorrow, and then 52 on Saturday. Upper 40s inland, mid 30s, so it's above the freezing temperature. So with a storm coming in on Saturday, you know it's going to be on the warm side of things. So let's go through our model data. We got clouds coming in this afternoon. Not too bad of a day. There's going to be some mountain snow showers late today. Tomorrow, clear in the morning. It's going to be cold. Watch out for some refreezing and black ice tomorrow morning, but sunshine. Really a nice Friday. Friday evening looks pretty good. Now Saturday, another impact day. It looks like we're going to have heavy snow in the lakes, foothills, and yes, the mountains. And I expect that snow early in the morning to get all the way to the coast. But eventually that warm air is here and it quickly changes over to heavy rain. It's kind of a shorter duration storm and not as much rainfall coming with the storm. And it should be over with by about 11 noon on Saturday. So kind of similar time frame that the last storm ended, and we'll get some sunshine by the afternoon. But the winds, they're still going to be quite strong at 50-mile-an-hour winds from the southeast in Portland, 43 in Biddeford, 48 miles an hour in Wisconsin. I don't think they're going to be gusting as long and not as extreme as 90-mile-an-hour winds offshore, but still a big storm. And guess what happens? High tide, an astronomical high tide, Saturday midday at 12:05. Seas will be 11 to 16 feet. It's a little bit less than than yesterday, but the surge will still be 2.5 to 4 feet. So we're expecting moderate flooding up and down the main coast, including Portland. And if it does stick with it, going to about a 4-foot storm surge at high tide, it would actually be worse than Wednesday morning. So a coastal flood watch in effect for Saturday midday. On the 8-day, kind of highlights all our threats this week. We're looking at some sunshine this morning, clouds this afternoon, cold with some black ice tonight, tomorrow morning, but really a nice day tomorrow, above average temperatures, way above average on Saturday. At the coastline, any snowpack that remains will be gone. As we head toward the morning, it's going to be the high winds, and we're going to be looking at the coastal flooding. Now, Sunday looks colder, windy too. Monday looks cold, and the Arctic air is here. And if the storm stays on track, it could be a nor'easter Tuesday night into Wednesday morning.
Okay, and there you go on that weather forecast. And we're going to switch gears now. Let's go into sports. And in your sports this evening, Boston Celtics, they had a game last night, and the final score of the Boston Celtics game, the game did go into overtime. That final score was Celtics 127 and Minnesota Timberwolves 120. Congratulations, Celtics, they won the game last night. Next game for Celtics is tonight at 7:30 p.m. against the Bucks. Let's go Celtics, hopefully they can win tonight's game. And Bruins, they play tonight at 10 o'clock p.m. against Vegas Golden Knights. Let's go Bruins. Hopefully they can win tonight's game. And that's it for this sports report, and that's it for this evening edition of WRMK News 12. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening. Good night and goodbye.